Welcome back, everyone. It's here. And today I've got some r/BestOf for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Don't forget right now, if you use code ODDS at checkout, you get free worldwide shipping with gamer subs on all orders over $75. This offer will be active until May 1st at 2 p.m. EST, so be sure to use it while you can. This post was collected by Big O Nerd. The original OP is only a 3, published on Beyond the Bump. The main post was posted December 4th, 2025. My wife is involuntarily committed. My wife is 5 weeks postpartum. She has had baby blues that have progressively become more frequent and more intense, although they do come and go in waves. She had a very traumatic delivery which ended in an emergency C-section, but she has honestly done so well with baby. Earlier this week, she admitted to me that her sadness was leading to darker, intrusive thoughts about her being a burden, a bad mom, we'd be better off without her, etc. She also let me know that she had a quick intrusive thought of suicide, but quickly pushed it away. Her 6-week checkup was supposed to be this Friday, and we were going to bring all this up to her doctor, but I suggested calling to see if we could get in earlier. The secretary said we should go to the hospital for immediate treatment. We went to the ER and were told she would be going on involuntary hold, and that we needed to separate immediately. It was super traumatic, as we naively thought we were going in as a family, getting some meds, talking to a therapist, and leaving. Overnight, she was moved to a facility without my knowledge. I've had to call all around to figure out where she is. They've taken her phone, will not allow any visitors, and are treating her like a prisoner. She's been there for 24 hours now. She still has not been given any type of meds. They would not allow her to pump for hours, which led to her milk literally being red with blood. My wife says the people she's around are traumatizing her. One threatened to cut himself and throw his blood over everyone. I finally managed to talk to my doctor at this facility, but every time I bring up my frustrations with how they're going about things and how I want her released, I get the same scripted legality answers. By no means am I trying to minimize the dark thoughts she had, but I do not understand how keeping her in a literal insane asylum and making her go no contact is helping the situation. I understand they have to cover themselves with the liability, but this seems so backwards to me. Why couldn't we try some meds and a therapist instead of going 0 to 100? I'm now told that even though her 72-hour hold ends Saturday, that they likely won't release her by then because they haven't started her meds, and they want to see how she reacts to them. Long story short, is there anything I can do to get her out and treated by her own doctor? Or am I just stuck and at their mercy? Is there legal action I can take? I have to wonder about the long-term impact of being in the environment she's described, let alone being away from her baby and the impact on her milk supply. Comments: Mormon girl. Hey, I would raise absolute hell over this. Literal hell. This is not appropriate care. I work in obstetrics and have cared for pregnant and postpartum women who need to be inpatient for mental health reasons, and this is not how it should be. Sadly, some providers and institutions are just not well informed regarding peripartum mental health. I would see if the hospital has a patient advocate service. Woods also demand that a maternal fetal medicine doctor is consulted. This is an obstetric complication that should be managed with insight from that expertise. Pumping is a medical need and they've been medically abusive. Please keep us updated. When I say to raise hell, I mean it. OP responds, I've raised absolute hell. They finally gave her a pump, but it was too late. I've threatened lawyers and told them I'm showing up. They allowed me to meet with her for about 20 minutes. It was supervised like I was meeting with a serial killer. I asked them again, in person, why has all she done today is make sand art and watch TV? We're on the Rain Man set. They told me they needed time to process her in and evaluate her. The evaluation showed no signs of wanting to harm herself and highly functioning, but they still insist she'll be held past 72 hours. We also are told we have no choice but to take Zoloft, which we have said we do not want to take and want to explore other medications. I've also asked them if they can coordinate with her actual doctor and let us release and go straight to him, but they will not allow it. It's just a total mess. User Fierce Foxy downvoted comments, how do you know she hasn't been given any medication, can't pump, etc.? OP responds, she was allowed a phone call to me and told me. The doctor also confirmed it to me. Fierce Foxy downvoted, well, in all honesty, her statements aren't necessarily accurate. Her milk being red with blood doesn't seem true at all. Doctors or anyone else there generally can't give you specific information about many things. OP responds, not sure how things work where you are, but where I am, I have access to all medical records and statements. Both herself and the social worker confirmed that her milk ducts clogged because she was not allowed to pump. Odd thing for you to get hung up on, to be honest. User jumping for frogs comments, are you in the US? Do you know a lawyer? Can you contact your wife's doctor? OP responds, yes, Georgia. I've contacted 2 lawyers. I gave them both a quick summary of everything and have been waiting for them to call back. Update 1. The next day. Thank you all for the encouragement and advice. I'm sorry I have not been able to reply to all of the messages and comments. My wife advised that they did her next assessment a few hours ago. The doctor said she seems of sound mind, but because she just rotated onto the shift, she doesn't know my wife's history. She's extending her stay through a 1014. Thanks to advice from some of you after several heated phone calls with the facility, my wife was granted a patient advocate. In addition, I have lawyered up with someone specializing in 1013 holds. The lawyer advised that these facilities are so sketchy that they keep assessing you until your insurance reaches its max allowance, meaning if your insurance covers a week, they will keep you a week. My lawyer gave me a message to pass to my wife advocating for forms that require the facility to allow the patient to change their status from involuntary to voluntary commitment and then ultimately discharge paperwork. She advised that these facilities will play dumb and beat around the bush, but to keep pushing. In addition, my lawyer advised me to contact the facility and advise that I will be canceling insurance for all future stays after today. This is a bluff for now, but could be done. She said oftentimes the patient will be freed after this threat. The lawyer also had me advise the facility that we will be filing a habeas in probate court on Monday if she is not released and seeking additional damages. We are now in the waiting game, but I'm at least feeling better that I was able to press them with legal action and that there seems to be a light at the end of the tunnel. Update 2. After 2 days. I just got back from visitation. My wife was in good spirits but obviously still defeated and begging to get out. She told me a nurse this morning told her something along the lines of, why do they even have you in here? So clearly, they believe she does not qualify to be kept there. After visitation, I asked the front desk for the highest ranking person on call. I was met with the charge nurse who sassily asked, why didn't you talk to me while I was sitting in the room with you during visitation? I said, I have no idea who you are. How in the world am I supposed to know that you're the highest person in this facility? And even if I did, why would I waste my visitation time talking to you? I went back and forth with the charge nurse demanding her immediate release. She says she has no authority to release her and that they can't do releases today. I literally watched someone get released while there, and my wife told me someone who was screaming all morning was released today. How someone like that gets released and my wife doesn't, I don't know. I asked who has authority, and she said it was the doctor on call. I demanded the doctor meet me in the lobby. The doctor sent her a message back and said they tried to call me and they're busy with patients. The time they called me was during visitation when I had no phone. I honestly think this was done on purpose. Ultimately, I left with a promise that the doctor would call me by the end of the day. I told them if I do not hear back, that this will get extremely ugly. I also left them with this post, stating there are 250,000 people that would absolutely love to know the name of this facility. Now, waiting for the doctor to call. Comments, MM2506 comments, any updates? I bet this is in the US. OP responds, yes, it is in the US, Georgia. I'm physically going there for an hour visitation later today. While there, I'm going to demand to speak with the highest person on the floor. I plan to reiterate that we are working with insurance to deny further claims. I demanded to leave with my wife, and if not, we will be showing up on their doorstep Monday morning with our lawyer. I'm going to talk to the lawyer beforehand to get my talking points and ensure I'm privy to anything they may try. Update 3 after 3 days, December 7th, 2025. All of the legal threats seem to have worked. I was just notified that she will be released tomorrow. I will still be pursuing a lawsuit against the facility and will be meeting with the lawyer once my wife has had time to decompress. Comments. User Tinkenklex comments. Please keep updating us. This has had me in distress for the last 2 days. I can't imagine what your wife and you and your baby must feel like. Has the doctor called you back? I'm praying that you get to take your wife home today. OP responds, I've tried calling this mystery doctor dozens of times. Still no luck. Final update. After 4 days, December 8th, 2025. Yes, she is finally out. This is actually like a big fear of mine, is being institutionalized and essentially no one believing that I'm actually A-okay because of just the fact that for some reason we've turned mental health care into a for-profit industry, and the fact that they would be willing to quite literally destroy your life if it means they get to milk your insurance provider for a few more weeks. Yeah, that's fucked up beyond belief, and if I was OP, I would definitely not hesitate to sue that place into the ground. Also, what's stopping from getting the cops involved and being like, they are holding my wife against her will, she is mentally sound, but they are refusing to release her? Like, how the fuck do they have authority to do shit like this? And the fact that it takes literal days for any kind of progress to actually be fucking made. My guess would be is that because OP has simply responded with a simple, yes, she's out, they are in fact pursuing legal, and the lawyer has probably recommended, don't post anything else. We're going to try to bury them, or at least get some kind of compensation for this bullshit. It also sucks because in the US, you can't really trust your therapist sometimes, because if you actually try to talk and have any kind of conversation about what's going on in your head and try to get yourself the treatment you need, you risk having your life uprooted and thrown into a fucking insane asylum because you have bad thoughts and intrusive thoughts sometimes that aren't good. The healthcare industry in the US needs to fucking burn. After doing a little bit of digging, this seems to be a common reaction if you go to the ER when it comes to mental health crises. So don't go to the ER for anything mental health related. Holy shit. This post was collected by Garden Geo. The original OP is CatRobber27, posted to r/AmITheAsshole, July 23rd, 2023. Am I the asshole for stealing my cat back? I'm sorry if this is poorly written. My friend suggested I post on here, and I'm on my phone. For context, I, 26 female, adopted my cat Toby about 7 years ago, and I love him to pieces. I moved in with my sister, 31 female, and her family, brother-in-law and daughter, 6 female, between finishing law school, taking the bar, and moving to another state for my job. I contributed to utilities and groceries, cleaned up after myself, and for everyone one occasion, and took care of my cat. The plan was always to stay from May 20th to August 5th. It's been an overall great time. I spent a lot of time with my sister, brother-in-law, and little niece through the last 7 years as they live in the same city as my undergrad/law school. We get along great, and my niece is wonderful. She's my sister's rainbow baby, which has led her to be a little coddled through the years. The issue, my niece has taken quite the liking to my cat. He's a very friendly cat and loves pets and cuddles, etc. The other day, we were all eating dinner together and my niece was talking about how much she loves Toby. I didn't think much of it, so while helping my sister with dishes, said, "Cats are wonderful, maybe you should consider adopting one." She made a strange face and said, "What do you mean? We have Toby." I explained to her that I meant after I move out in the next 2 weeks. My niece came to the kitchen holding Toby during this conversation, and my sister said, "She loves him too much." "You're going to take a child's cat?" I was extremely upset by this conversation, but kept cool and said, "Well, Toby's my cat, and I was never intending to leave him here." My niece instantly started sobbing, calling me a cat robber, and saying that no cat will be like Toby because Toby is hers, and he loves her. I kinda just grabbed Toby and went to my room. This was a week ago, and I've received texts and calls from my sister, my mom, and brother-in-law saying I'm being childish towards a child. I suggested I go with them and adopt a cat. But everyone insists on letting my niece keep Toby and telling me to get a new cat. I've put my foot down and stated there's no world in which that happened, to which I'm being called an asshole. This whole situation is driving me nuts. My friend group and boyfriend are on my side, but my best friend said she would just make peace so I don't lose my actual family for the cat. But Toby is my family. Comment 1, not the asshole, suggest taking the niece with you so she can live with the cat. Your sister can get another child. Opie responds, this comment made me laugh. But sis, I really like this kid. Can I just have her? Win-win. Laughing crying emoji. Comment 2. That's some serious boundary stomping, manipulative bullshit. Opie responds, this morning my niece came running to me and gave me a hug because she had a dream I said yes to her keeping Toby. I flat out said, that's all it was, a dream. My sister said I was being unreasonable and should consider at least leaving Toby until the school year starts in September. That's also not going to happen. Commenter 3. Not the asshole. You aren't stealing your cat. It's up to her parents to manage this in a healthy manner. You've been with the cat for years. No one in your family is considering that your cat might miss you. Your niece will be sad, and that's to be expected. Kids need to learn that not everything will always go their way. Besides, I guarantee if they adopt a kitten, she will not miss your cat. OP responds, she said she doesn't want to deal with a cat that might not be as tame as him. Toby's very calm and patient. He was also declawed when I got him, not by me. She's like, a new cat will tear up furniture, and what if it bites/scratches my baby? Comment 4. Not the asshole, this is insane. Does your sister ever tell her daughter she can't have things? Because this is no way to start developing a healthy, mature person. OP responds, not really. She's been taught to just ask nicely because people award kindness. Additional details from OP in the comments. My mother is trying to keep the peace as we've never had a huge dispute before. She said I'd understand one day when I have kids of my own. My niece was pretty sick when she was born, she's fine now, and being the first grandchild, everyone gives her what she wants. She claims I didn't tell them I would leave with the cat. While I didn't, I figured it was a given, since she's mine. OP responding to another comment, thank you. I do want to clarify Toby is declawed in his front paws. However, I did not do this to him or condone it. I adopted him from a shelter, and he was already declawed. I didn't even realize for a solid week because it never crossed my mind. OP further comments, I'm sad that my niece is upset. It's obvious she hasn't been taught no. But my cat is my best friend. He takes priority, and I would never give him up just because someone asked. Update the next day. Thank you all for your overwhelming support. I truly thought I was going crazy. I take the bar exam on Tuesday and Wednesday. Luckily, all this drama came pretty late in the game, so it didn't interfere much. But this is unnecessary stress. I ended up finding a pet-friendly hotel near my testing center and booking it. I also got a U-Haul and had friends come over and put all my stuff in there. I had recently packed most of the stuff, so it didn't take long. I'm going to stay in the hotel and then head to my new apartment on Thursday. I moved up my lease. Leaving was a shit show with my niece sobbing uncontrollably and my sister saying something along the lines of me being unreasonable and cruel. My niece tried to grab Toby's carrier out of my hands at one point, to which my friend told her, I wouldn't do that if I were you, and back the hell up. I left. My sister called me a bit ago, and I picked up. A dumb move. She first said our mom called her after hearing the situation forced me out of a house before my exam. Mom had called me for an update and apologized profusely. And my sister called me childish for snitching. She then said that she took her daughter to the animal shelter, but none of them were Toby, but also mentioned she refused any cat that wasn't declawed. She went on to say I'm lucky she doesn't charge my friend with assault. My friend did not touch her. I wished her luck with that. She ended by calling me cruel and to expect a cleaning bill since she needs the house deep cleaned after an animal there. I told her to grow the hell up and blocked her. Any further communication with her will be a post-bar problem. Toby and me are happily in our hotel with my piles of flashcards. Thanks again, everyone. Edit to add, for the suggestions to get a cat for my niece, I have suggested to go look for cats with them. I just don't think they can even handle a cat without someone, me, doing all the unfun stuff like litter and feeding. I wouldn't want to subject another cat to an unsafe environment. We will see, but Toby and I are happily away now. Smiley face. Comments. Commenter 1. The audacity of trying that on someone who's studying for the bar. One topic you'll definitely not forget. LP responds, yeah, no kidding. Not to mention she knows my boyfriend is a criminal law attorney. Comment 2. Yeah, of course not the asshole, though please give us an update later on. LP responded, I posted an update. Toby and I are safe and happy. Little guy has no idea what happened, but couldn't care less. Comment 3. You're a good cat parrot. You should totally post some Toby pics. I'd love to see him. He sounds so cute. OP responds, I haven't posted cat tax photos to keep from anonymity, but he's an orange tabby who rocks a green bow tie collar with a tag that says, I'm Toby, I may have lost my human. I mean, that one commenter's onto something. I mean, Toby's been in OP's life for 7 years and the daughter's only 6 years old. I mean, you know, Toby has authority in this situation. He's got seniority. I think Toby should be allowed to keep the niece. Are you really gonna be petty and say no to Toby? I mean, look, it's Toby. He's so sad without the niece. You should definitely give up the niece. What do you mean no? See, now you're just being childish. That would have been one hell of a conversation to have. But I mean, overall, most importantly, like at some point in time, someone's gonna have to teach this kid what no means, because The mom? Clearly isn't. The kid's gonna grow up thinking that kindness is enough to get anything handed to her, and if it's not, then just throw a temper tantrum and mommy will make sure that she gets it. On the bright side though, at least OP's mom came around and actually kind of like figured out that what's going on here is ridiculous and apologized to OP, especially because all this was happening before her bar exam. But I would also maybe reevaluate the relationship with the best friend who recommended that you keep the peace by giving up your cat. That's not something a best friend would say. Like, I would definitely have a conversation of, why do you think this? Why do you think that I should give my cat up? Personally, I'm really curious to hear what that reasoning would be of why she's in favor of keeping the peace and getting rid of your pet or family member at that point. Because I can understand why the mom is being entitled and spoiled, I can understand the niece, I can understand the brother-in-law, but I can't understand the best friend. And I'm just curious as to why. This post was collected by Direct Caterpillar 77. Their tagline is, of course, Satan is not a pogo stick. The original OP is Obscure Reference 1, posted to r/relationships, November 24th, 2015. I, 26 female, with guy, 27 male, I'm seeing for the last 5 months. My ex recently discovered I'm seeing someone and sent him a Facebook message after losing it on me. Now he's being distant and unresponsive. As a general content warning, this includes threats, verbal abuse, cyberstalking, harassment, and threats of suicide. Background info. I was in a long-distance relationship for close to 4 years with a guy I naively thought was the one. With him being across the country, I didn't notice or was able to ignore quite a few red flags in our relationship, including things like him not putting in the same effort I was to make things work. Example, I would try and talk on the phone with him once a week, but he hated talking on the phone and would either sit there silently or tell me he didn't feel like talking and just hang up. He always got irrationally upset at the small things and was constantly in a state of conflict with everyone in his life. He had extreme jealousy issues and would fly into rages if someone he deemed threatening showed up in group situations I was in. I faded from quite a few friendships to keep him happy and not rock the boat. He would go days and weeks with barely any contact with me, saying he needed time to focus on himself and his needs. Basically, it was a relationship I should have ended a long time ago, but when things were good, they were really, really good, and I loved him. Eventually, we were at a point where I was sick of long distance, and I was prepping my life to move out there, because he didn't feel like he could be happy on my side of the country. The only problem was that I had landed a new job that I love and have a future in. After doing some research and talking to my boss, I was able to arrange to relocate out to the state next to where my ex was living in at the moment. It was a state he always talked about loving and had said he could live in. This sparked all kinds of drama, which I'm now thankful for, where he changed his mind and said it was his city or nothing. After a bunch of arguing, he broke up with me, something he did frequently, which usually ended in me caving to his will and trying to make things work. This time, however, after maybe a month of grieving and trying to get him to come back and compromise because I was just not able to bend this time, the wool was lifted from my eyes. I realized how incredibly fucked up our relationship was, how crazy I was for being willing to move across the country for a guy that had not made one small compromise for me in the entire duration of our relationship. This realization changed everything for me, and I stopped chasing him, and started focusing on myself and my life and hobbies, and friendships, and all the things I had neglected trying to make things work with him. As soon as I stopped chasing him, he was suddenly back in my life, and opening up about depression and anxiety issues he had. My heart went out to him because I know he's lived through some very difficult things, and I can see and understand how all of that has affected his mental health. I agreed to try my best to be there for him as he entered into therapy and tried to work through his issues. But I was not willing to get back together. I wanted time to focus on myself for once and not get sucked back into the dark cycle our relationship had become. For a while, things were okay. He finally started therapy, and there were even times when I thought maybe this was what needed to happen to have a future. A problem arose during this time regarding his extreme jealousy issues. I have some hobbies that are very male-dominated, and I have a few guy friends because of it. My ex had started stalking my movements, and when he saw or even had a suspicion I was hanging out with guys or in a situation where guys could hit on me, he would spiral out of control. He would call me 30 times in a row. He would call me a whore or leave voicemails saying I have daddy issues and seek validation from guys that want to fuck me. And then he would move on to suicide threats if I abandoned him. It got messy, but despite some very wise friends telling me I needed to go no contact with him, I just couldn't do it. He has multiple relatives who have committed suicide, and I was afraid he would really do it. And I still really cared about him. And once the episodes passed, he would calm down and apologize and say he was working on it, and it meant so much that I hadn't left him in his time of need. I know I was stupid, and it would have been better for both of us if I had just stopped, but I couldn't. I was sucked back into a bad cycle with him. Here is where my actual problem comes into play. That took longer to explain than I thought it would. I met a wonderful guy a month or so after giving up on my relationship. We have a lot in common and have a lot of fun together. We went out on a few dates and have just connected really well. He lives a bit of a drive away, so we only see each other once a week, which has worked for me because I tend to not be a relationship jumper and was nervous about meeting someone else so soon. My ex, with his stalking talents, picked up on this guy almost immediately and had taken to grilling me about him all the time. I tested the waters more than once to see how he would react to my moving on, and they did not go well. His reaction was frankly terrifying, a combination of rage outbursts and hysterically sobbing while telling me he would end his life and anyone but him. So, like an idiot, I lied to him. Usually by trying to avoid the topic of the guy I was seeing altogether, while encouraging my ex to get the help he needed, not to make things work with us, but for himself, because I can't fix him, and he needs to find his own self-worth outside of a relationship. But when he was spiraling and demanding I tell him if I'm dating, we'll call him Jake, while also saying he'll end things if I am, in those moments, I outright lied to him, and perhaps that was the wrong thing to do, but I can't take it back. Now, Jake and I have been getting closer over the last 5 months. He had a vague understanding that I had some ex-baggage that oftentimes involves him calling me 30 times in a row at 2 a.m., but he's been very patient and hasn't pushed the issue. We've been taking things very slow, haven't even had the exclusive talk yet, and just been enjoying each other's company and our shared hobbies. This past weekend, we went on a trip surrounding our hobby with a mutual friend of ours and had a really wonderful time, and I realized I really liked him. I love how drama-free and easy things are with him. It's so refreshing and sometimes doesn't even seem real because it's almost too easy. I didn't know being with someone could be so drama-free and relaxing, and you come away feeling good instead of stressed and anxious. It's been really wonderful. Yesterday, Jake posted an Instagram photo from this weekend and tagged me in it. I didn't think much of it until my ex started texting me, freaking out and calling me over and over. I was trying to ignore him and let him simmer down on his own before trying to have a productive conversation about it. But he told me he couldn't trust me to be honest with him and was going to message Jake to get the truth. Jake and I are still pretty new and just started to get serious and think about what this is and what it means. I freaked out and called my ex, and after a lot of yelling, finally told him that I had been dating Jake. My ex lost it, worse than he ever has. He called me a filthy whore, a despicable person for lying to him and letting him believe there was hope, and then saying I've taken away his only hope, his only light in the darkness, and that I don't care about him and probably wish he was dead, that I broke him and he was already dead, etc. I honestly feel like if he was here instead of across the country, he would have hit me. He kept going from this extreme rage to utter despair. Nothing I said could calm him down. Finally, he just said, "I sent that message to Jake. Have fun figuring out how to lie your way out of it with him, you selfish fucking bitch." I had warned Jake earlier that my ex might reach out to him, and I'm sorry for any drama he gets dragged into. Jake only said, "I hope he does." At this point, I blocked my ex on everything I could. He's gotten so bad now, and in the past, that my friends who have witnessed his outbursts have actually suggested I get a restraining order. Jake finally texted me the next morning, saying, "Yeah, he reached out. He didn't say anything very damaging." He hasn't spoken to me since, which is unusual for him. I have no idea what my ex said to him. All I can think is that if I was in his shoes and an ex contacted me, I would be running for the hills. I'm crushed. Is there any way I can fix this with him? Am I reading too much into his response? This became way longer than anticipated, and it reads like I'm living in a soap opera. Sorry. Too long didn't read. Ex-boyfriend found out I was seeing someone new, which I was hiding from him due to his suicidal outbursts. Contacted the guy I recently started dating, who has been very distant since then. Relevant comments. User Ashrick comments. Am I reading too much into his response? Until you actually talk to the person, yes, you should enter that conversation prepared with a list of the ways you will no longer be entertaining your ex's behavior. It's one thing to be in the thrall of an unstable, abusive ex. It's another thing to just try and coast it out forever. OP responds, that's a good idea. This is the first time I'm grateful it was a long-distance relationship. I do want to add that while I feel like he could have hit me if I had been there in that moment, he's never actually been abusive to me. Ashrick further responds, a guy calls you 30 times at night, calls you a whore and a bitch, stalks you online, threatens suicide if you don't give him attention, finds out who you spend time with and sends them messages? Lady, that is the abuse. Not every punch is a closed fist, but you've been taking them for years. OP responds, wow, that hit hard. It's not far off from what my friends have told me, but it never felt like it was fair to call it that, when there are people experiencing worse abuse, and a lot of this is my fault for handling everything so wrong. Thank you for phrasing it like that. It's very eye-opening. Update, November 30th, 2015, 6 days later. My post didn't receive a ton of attention, but I got some really wonderful advice and wanted to update those that commented. First off, thank you to everyone that responded. Of course, it always boils down to communication, but it was really helpful to figure out exactly how to communicate what needs to be said. You guys helped me get my head straight before talking to Jake, which was exactly what I needed. After giving Jake some more time, it became pretty clear that the ball was in my court, and I reached out to him to talk. As it turns out, that is exactly what he was waiting for. I laid everything out on the table and explained that I knew I had handled my ex wrong, and that going forward, he was blocked and I wouldn't be in contact with him in the future, like I should have done months ago. Jake didn't get into the details of what my ex sent him, but it was along the lines of I had been stringing him along and was trying to work things out with my ex while dating Jake simultaneously. Jake said he didn't necessarily believe him, but it was important he got the details about what was going on from me. He wasn't being responsive because he didn't want to pry and was waiting for me to reach a point where I was ready to tell him what had been going on. Basically, I'm dating a rational adult who values communication. I've gotten so used to walking on eggshells with my ex and trying to avoid rocking the boat that I'm admittedly shaky on how things work in a healthy, normal relationship. But it's nice. Jake and I have had a much-needed conversation about where we are and what we want out of our relationship. And things are good. He even joined my family's Thanksgiving, which is a huge deal. It took me 3 years to introduce my ex to my parents, and the guy I dated before that never met them. Thanks again for all your advice. Everyone that commented ended up saying exactly what I needed to hear. Too long didn't read, communicate with Jake, now we're on the same page and in a good place. Edit, well, this blew up. Thank you for the gold, and thank you guys for the continued advice and shared stories. This is a wonderful example of r/relationships giving rational and thoughtful direction, and I can't tell you guys how much I appreciate it. Even the blunter comments. There were a lot of things I needed to hear, and sometimes you can hear it better when it's coming from strangers on the internet instead of friends who will always take your side. Honestly, I really feel for OP. Like, the whole lying aspect, it sucks, but I understand why she was doing that. Was it the 100% correct option? No, it wasn't. Definitely not. There are other ways to approach this, but they're not exactly the easiest, and they're definitely a lot scarier, especially for someone who struggles with confrontation. OP was put into a situation of if she calls the ex's bluff and it turns out it wasn't a bluff, well, now she has blood on her hands. Not to mention the threats, the verbal abuse, and just everything else that gets piled on her when she tries to move on or leave the relationship. So it puts her in a no-win situation. Do I just kind of lie to him and try to just see if he'll just give up eventually, or do I risk ending it and potentially invoke his wrath? For someone trying to navigate an abusive relationship for the first time and they don't recognize that it's abusive, they're going to make a ton of missteps. They're going to aggravate the situation while trying to simmer it down, and they're going to potentially just cause more harm. It can certainly be scary, and in this instance, thankfully, OP found someone who's actually an adult, and is able to communicate and is able to actually talk to OP and understand that the crazed ramblings of a lunatic who calls 30 times at 2 a.m. and then sends a Facebook message isn't exactly going to be a reliable source of information, and to hear from OP first. While I do hope that things worked out between her and Jake, even if they didn't, at least she was able to actually see what a proper and healthy relationship actually looks like. A few comments that were in the best of thread that I feel like are worth including. User Helicopter Mechanic comments, "Unfortunately, I'm familiar with what walking on eggshells feels like in a relationship. This causes people to make decisions based on expectations of negative reaction/response instead of doing what's rational. Sometimes this often causes people to keep things or lie to them just to keep the peace, even if this isn't in their nature at all. If you're living like this, it's not okay, and you deserve better." User Somewhat Okay Advisor comments, "I feel like if he were here instead of across the country, he would have hit me. That alone speaks volumes on why OP felt obligated to keep this chode in her life for as long as she did. Feeling physically threatened even from miles away is the worst sensation ever." This post was collected by Direct Caterpillar 77, and their tagline is, "Satan is not a pogo stick." The original OP is "Ta-da! Throwaway! Yay!" Posted October 17th, 2024 to r/relationships. Me, 29 male, with my 29 male high school bully, has applied for a job in my company. I'm conflicted about what to do. Here's the backstory. I moved to the US from India when I was 14. For the most part, people in the US were friendly and welcoming towards me. But I didn't have a good time in high school. I was bullied a lot. But most of it was low-level teasing and jokes, except one guy, Adam. He was the vilest, cruelest, and meanest human being. He bullied me relentlessly. He called me lots of racist names and bullied me physically as well. He egged me while I was walking home, ripped at my turban, I'm Sikh, punched me, and threatened to blow up my house because ragheads like me were responsible for 9/11. He made my life hell, and I begged my parents to go back to India solely because I didn't want to face him in school. Anyway, things got much better when I went to college. Far, far away from the small town where I lived, where I interacted with educated, open-minded people. I worked hard to pursue the American dream, and I now own a successful real estate/construction business. My company is hiring for a variety of construction jobs. I normally get too involved with the hiring. My superintendent, Sam, takes care of the actual hiring, and I trust his judgment. So I walked into work this morning, and I saw Adam. I confirmed it by assessing his application, along with a bunch of other guys waiting outside Sam's office. I asked Sam about it, and he said he was interviewing crew members and Adam had applied to do masonry work. I didn't say anything, but asked Sam to let me know who made the cut before making the offers. Well, I saw Adam's name on the list. Sending him brought me back to those long-buried memories of his bullying. I'll be honest, I don't want to hire him, and I have the power to do so. But I'm also conflicted. Why am I still bothered by Adam? Who cares anymore, right? Forgive and forget, right? What does r/relationships think? Should I hire him or not? If I chose to hire him, should I discuss the past with him? See if he's changed? Too long didn't read. High school bully wants a job at my company. What do, Reddit? Top comments. Remember Coombe Valley. High schoolers are old enough to know better than to beat on people and be racist little shits. You own the business. You don't have to hire the guy. You absolutely don't have to give him a job. On the other hand, there's a happy, fierce little mental image right now of you hiring him and going round on his first day to introduce yourself to all the new hires. Seriously though, I probably wouldn't. He's not likely to have outgrown being a racist little shit, and you don't invite snakes into the house. User BigRead99 comments, why would you hire him? You have the benefit that most hiring managers don't have. You have background information on him that interviews are normally for. Sorry, violent racists might not be the best people to hire. I don't really see a point in ever contacting him about your past. You seem like you're afraid or something, and you know what? I'm genuinely sorry for assholes like that. I love America, I love living here, and I'm extremely supportive of people moving here to pursue their dreams. Adam doesn't represent us, and I'm sorry you had to deal with that crap. Update, October 20th, 2014, 3 days later. Thank you all for your replies. Adam ended up resolving this dilemma for me. After thinking about it over the weekend, I was leaning towards not hiring him. The decision was based on the fact that I have employees belonging to different races and ethnicities. I owe it to my people to provide a comfortable work environment. For example, most of my Masons are Hispanic or Eastern European. Many of these guys don't speak any English. I don't want to force them to work with a guy with a known racist and violent past. I did consider that he was a changed man. After all, most of us have grown up and matured since high school. But I just don't have the time to monitor him and make sure he's not being a bully to his immigrant coworkers. Before I struck his name off the list, I wanted to get Sam's opinion too. I went to work today and talked to Sam. It went like this. Me. Hey Sam, I need to talk to you about Adam, one of the bricklayers we are planning to hire. Sam. Oh yeah, I was gonna talk to you about him too. He left a voicemail for me refusing to move forward with the hiring process. He didn't want to submit to a drug test where he knew he was going to fail. Adam's own words. We have a very strict drug policy, and his refusal to be tested has eliminated him from further consideration. So, in a way, Adam made the decision for me. Too long didn't read, Adam refused to be drug tested, will not be hiring him. Edit. So many questions about the reason for drug testing. We're required by our insurance to drug test every employee. Final comments. Eternal Gladiator. Did you tell Sam anyways? I'm curious what would have happened had Adam not taken himself from consideration. OP responds, yes, I did tell Sam. His reaction was pretty similar to most of the replies I received. He basically said, it's not a dilemma for me, I would not hire him. It's different if this were an office job, but the work culture in construction is different. If he turned out to be a racist ass, you can't expect our men to go to HR or take a legal stand. It would cause 1, good men to leave, or 2, someone getting pissed enough to beat him up. Either way, our business is affected. User SVM Invictives comments, it's different if this were an office job. Not really, nobody wants to work with an asshole. I wouldn't have even thought twice before shredding this guy's resume. OP responds, I think Sam meant that office workers generally report racism and bullying to HR or escalate it to higher-ups or threaten a lawsuit. Worst case scenario. Construction workers will generally not bother unless they're part of a union. OP when someone asked about the drug test. Are you talking about the drug test? My employees work with heavy equipment and dangerous objects every day. We can't afford to let people work under the influence. It's a matter of safety. It's also a requirement for our insurance. It's gotta feel good knowing the racist bastard who bullied him in high school isn't doing so hot right now. So hey, that's at least something. But honestly, what I'm kind of more shocked about is how many people apparently were so anti-drug testing for construction workers. Like they're using high-powered tools and heavy machinery and God knows what else that could definitely harm, injure, or destroy property. So yeah, making sure they're of sound mind at all times is definitely 100% a necessity. Like if you went to buy a house and you were told, hey, by the way, just so you know, the construction workers who did this, all high as a kite while building your home. Anyways, here's the keys, have a good time. Would you not be a little bit spooked about the quality of the house and if it's actually safe to be in? Like, I'm all for decriminalization and legalization, but, like, there are definitely a lot of jobs where I don't think testing is unreasonable. Ah. Oh. You scared me. Oh no. That was my impression of a middle school drama student trying to audition for a role that he obviously isn't going to get. Anyways, welcome to the outro. Don't forget right now, using code OZ with GamerSupps doesn't give 10% off, but instead gets free worldwide shipping until May 1st at 2 p.m. EST. Considering how expensive shipping can be sometimes, honestly, that might be worth it. So be sure to stock up while you can for those of you who may have been avoiding putting an order down because shipping is so goddamn fucking expensive. But yeah. Also, when I was kind of asking about the length and duration of videos, a lot of you seem to kind of be pushing towards 30, and a lot of you also seem to be pushing towards the longer videos. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing. And sometimes you'll get a 30-minute video, sometimes you'll get a 40-minute video, sometimes you'll get a 50, and on the rare occasions, you'll get maybe like an hour-plus special. Now on just kind of some general conversational topic here, recently I've been exploring some media that I really was enjoying, mostly video games, honestly, during a really kind of like not so fun, dark time, a very uncomfy time in my life, if I'm gonna be honest. And it's weird because some of the cutscenes and some of the dialogue tree options and some of the missions are like kind of causing those memories to resurface, but in a way where it's not as harmful? I don't know. It's kind of just an interesting thing that I've been noticing, and it's both like melancholic, but also it's making the media feel good again, and I'm enjoying actually playing it this time and not just using it to like escape. So that's been interesting. I'm probably gonna find out through the comments this is actually some very specific form of therapy, and I've just been doing it by accident. Anyways, yeah, I'll catch y'all guys next time.